Hi, Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. After making the ornament in last week's video and the pumpkin ornament recently also, I decided, that's a harebrained idea, but I'll do it anyway. It is a combination of the two. So, in this case, we'll turn it with a multi-axis style turning to get this scallop on the edge, hollow it like the other and in the front, put a finial on it, and voila, another Christmas ornament for this year. So, let's turn it.
My wood for this project is maple. It is dry. I roughed it round and measured the diameter in preparation to use the octagon method since I need to start with a sphere. The wood for it is my notepad. On it I wrote the diameter and the simple math for a sphere. Diameter times 0.293 for the corner factor and diameter times 0.414 for the side factor. After trimming one end, I marked the side measurement there. I almost forgot to mark the length on the side of the cylinder, which happens to be the same as the diameter. Then waste off some of the excess wood at the headstock end. Then refine the trim to be a tenon whose diameter is also the side measure. By the way, I go into more detail about the octagon method for turning perfect spheres in other of my videos. Then proceed to cut the 45-degree sides to the octagon, making the sides of the octagon. Then divide each octagon side in half and half again with my pencil. Then cut the corners, forming a dexahexagon. Now I have the guidance I need to be able to do a rough rounding by eye. Time to switch from centers to a cup faceplate, retained with a rubber stopper on my live center. This phase using the cup faceplate is a key to perfecting the sphere. The sphere is mounted with the old equator, now in a north-south orientation, essentially a 90-degree axis shift. The nubs from the centers are the first task. I gently cut them away with the shear cutting action, then continued to whittle away the ghosts at the top of the sphere, but trying to leave the old equator line that is going across the cut. For the second rotation, mark another equator line and rotate the axis, again 90 degrees. The previous cut made the sphere round in the center but somewhat football-shaped. This rotation will round off the football but create a smaller football with a new orientation. But that's a more rounded sphere overall. After the third rotation, the sphere is looking great, but not quite perfect yet. Out comes the 80 grit sandpaper and sand. Rotate the axis 90 degrees and sand again. By the way, each refining procedure on the sphere requires 3 90-degree axis shifts, whether cutting or each grit of sandpaper. Rotate the axis 90 degrees and sand again. This is as refined as much as I need for this project. I measured the sphere. I think I only lost about 1/16 of an inch from the original measure. Not bad. I need to mark 6 divisions on each side of the sphere. My cup faceplate does not have indexing, but my chuck has some indexing capability. But when I make faceplates, I cut a tenon for it to mount to a chuck if need be. Well, this is a need be. I mark pencil lines for my divisions, recheck and correct as necessary. It was necessary. Remount again with a division mark running around, being sure to align the lines marked just a bit ago and the original live center indent if still available. Now cut a shallow cove with the top corners rounded over. I'm using a round nose scraper to minimize the pressure on the sphere. It does not need to be a perfect shape. Imperfections make it appear more organic. While still mounted this way, sand the cove area through the grits. Repeat by changing the mount to another set of division marks. Again, ensure the opposite marks align. Cut another cove as deep as the first cove and approximately as wide. Again, sand the cove area through the grits. Let's do that again with another set of axis marks. but this time I'm starting the cut with a spindle gouge, but then switch to a round nose scraper. And again, sand the cove area through the grits. Next, mount the sphere in my doughnut chuck. A sphere adapter holds the base, another holds the top. I start hollowing with a spindle gouge. The doughnut holds it fast. I'm not going very deep. The spindle cuts very nicely from center out, then refine from outside in. Then switch over to finish with a round nose scraper. After sanding, I paint the hollow with a metallic blue acrylic paint and let it dry. Now a swirl with silver rub and buff, but I blew it and had to wipe it off and repaint it. On my second try with the rub and buff, I blew it again. So I cover the entire surface with rub and buff. I need more swirl practice. Now for the finials, I have a piece of mesquite that I mount between centers. I like to try different techniques with different materials for different finial applications. This time I will cut a tenon in the middle, but offset to allow different lengths for the top and the bottom. The downside of cutting it here is that I cannot test it for correct size. Instead, I use sharpened end wrenches to cut the finial bit to 3/8 inch. I just have to remember that wrenches are always slightly oversized. Then start shaping the short section for the top finial. Looks good, except for the end, which has the nasty point from the live center. Now to shape the long section for the top finial. This mesquite is tough, showing no signs of weakness and no tendency to break. I do take a break to sharpen my skew. It cuts better now after sharpening. This side looks good, except for the end, but it needs some sanding through the grits. This is a great opportunity to apply shellac friction polish. And after a short trip to the bandsaw to separate the finials, I mount the top finial into the chuck with the tenon. Now drill a mounting hole for a hanger before sanding and applying finish to this tip. Now the same approach to sand and finish the bottom tip of the bottom finial. This finishes this harebrained alternative to an ornament. I use the multi-axis approach used for the recent pumpkin project. My objective was to turn an ornament similar to last week's ornament, but with a wavy rim around the opening. I like it, but you be the judge. Did I succeed? Is this approach worth it? Should I do it again sometime? And what would you do? Let me know in the comments. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my website as well as on YouTube. When you subscribe to my website, I email when there's a new video, and this is a more reliable process than YouTube's wandering algorithm recommendations. Please tell your friends about my weekly videos. I appreciate your comments and questions. Please wear your full face shield whenever the lathe is running. Yes, I nag. It's worth it if I can save one of you some pain.